Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and today I'm going to share another edition of Friday Favorites with you. So the book that I have chosen for this week's Friday Favorites is Things You Save in a Fire by Katherine Center. Now this book came out in August of 2019. And it is her latest book. So she has written previous books. This was the second book by this author that I read. The first book that I read was called How to Walk Away, and it was the one that she wrote prior to this one. And it was okay. It wasn't great, but I enjoyed it. But this one was so much better in my opinion, and I gave this a 5 stars, and I'm going to tell you why. So this book is a female-centered kind of journey of self-discovery type of book with like a side of romance. And at the time, it was a romance that I didn't even know I really needed in my life. I'm not a huge, strictly romance reader. I won't necessarily pick up a book that is just romance. The exception might be like Nicholas Sparks, but even I find that his books are a bit more about the story than the romantic aspects of his writing. But anyways, what I do like is when I'm reading a contemporary book or a literary fiction or something, women's fiction, and then there's a bit of a romance kind of added in. That's usually when I like to enjoy my romance reads. So that's exactly what happened in Things You Save in a Fire. This book is about Cassie. She's 26 years old. She's a firefighter. And she's pretty much closed herself off to all relationships. When she was 16, turning 16 on her 16th birthday, she had a really traumatic experience. Her mom basically left their family and abandoned them, and they became estranged and didn't really have any sort of relationship. And that really affected Cassie, so much so that she kind of just like closed herself off to relationships completely. But then one day, 10 years later, she gets a phone call from her mother who is experiencing some health issues and is struggling. And Cassie basically decides to move in with her mother, leave town, leave her firehouse, and find a new job and kind of rebuild that relationship with her mother. So when Cassie gets into that, obviously it's, rocky at first, but over time she gets settled into her firehouse and she meets a guy who's also a firefighter, and things kind of develop, and she gets to know her mom and finds out some of the real truth behind why her mom left, and the story just really develops from there. Some people might say that the relationship between Cassie and this other gentleman might be a bit cheesy and too predictable, but for me it was like just the right amount of cheese. Like, I like relationships that are kind of cute, but not like, oh, instant love, like I met you this morning and I love you around now and everything's perfect. So for me, it was excellent. I would also say, like, if you love books that are set in fire stations, or if you love stories set in fire stations, then I mean, this has that appeal factor. As a big fan of Station 19 and Chicago Fire, those are two of my favorite shows, I definitely could appreciate that in this book, and that just kind of made me want to read it even more because I just love that environment. And I don't actually know too many books that are set in fire stations, so it was kind of a unique aspect to have in the book as well. I would say if you're looking for a book that is maybe a bit reflective of a woman who is on a journey of self-discovery, who maybe has some, baggage and things like that that are preventing her from moving forward in her life, if that sort of story maybe appeals to you or you're interested in reading that, then I would definitely consider picking up Things You Save in a Fire by Katherine Center. It is a easy read, it flows really well, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So if you have read this book, or if you're interested in this book, but you maybe also aren't interested in a couple other titles, I do have some read-alikes for you. Now, I have 3 read-alikes, but not all 3 of these read-alikes I've actually read. So when I do my read-alike research, I kind of look at books that are maybe in a similar genre, maybe deal with similar storylines and have similar aspects to them. That doesn't mean that I've read them, but they are books that I would be interested in reading. So these 3 are either a book that I read or is actually on my TBR, and I do plan to read it soon. So the first one is called Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holm. I haven't read this book, but it is on my TBR. It's about a young widow named Evie Drake and a baseball player, and they form kind of an unlikely relationship when the baseball player moves into the apartment at the back of Evie's house. And I think some sort of, obviously, relationship starts to blossom from that point. So it features, a strong woman just trying to find happiness. And that is just a really interesting trope for me that I like to read. So if you've read this one, let me know what you think. And if you've read both, do they compare? Because I would love to know. The other read-alike that you may enjoy is actually Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. Now this is actually also a read-alike for How to Walk Away by Katherine Center. So I don't know if it might be the authors that they're comparing, but it's also the similar storylines about strong women, strong female characters who are overcoming adversity, who are dealing with tough situations. It's in the similar genre type. Personally, I did not really like Me Before You. Like, it was okay, but I have mentioned before, Jojo Moyes, I seem to have some issues with her books, and I don't know what it is about them, but I've just kind of almost given up on reading Jojo Moyes because I think it's just not for me. But anyway, Me Before You is a similar type of book. So if you did love Me Before You, you quite well might like Things We Save in the Fire, and vice versa. They also have similar kind of characters. The female characters in this book and in Me Before You, they're, flawed, they're a bit quirky, and they're just kind of finding themselves in the large part of the story, which I think is what is so similar about them. And the last read-alike that I have to share with you is Leave Me by Gayle Forman. Now, I haven't read this book either, but I do actually own it and have it on my shelf. So, one day I will read it. So both these books are engaging and about women who are bouncing back from struggles in life. This is about a working mom who is so busy and so overwhelmed that she doesn't realize that she's experiencing the signs of a heart attack. And she kind of ends up leaving the family that she's been resenting, and she just ends up dealing with all of her hardships and all of her struggles that maybe led to that added stress. Again, I haven't read it. I don't know too much about it, but I just enjoy books about women overcoming struggles. So again, this might be a read-alike for you if you're interested. That's all for this edition of Friday Favorites. If you have read Things We Save in a Fire and you loved it, please let me know. I'd love to talk about it with you. If you're interested in any of these other books, I hope that they have piqued your interest. I know that right now maybe your access to your public library is limited, but I'm sure you can find these books as ebooks through your digital resource library from your public library as well. You can always check other booksellers, independent booksellers, or Amazon, or wherever you prefer to buy your books, and have them sent to you. But if you're liking my content, again, it really does help to support me if you hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up down below, and we'll see you soon in my next video. Bye everyone.